Let's get defensive about the announcement of the Gold Glove finalists, because while the Braves are well represented, there is a glaring absence from that list. This is BPTV, Cory McCartney and Grant McAuley with you. And the Braves had 4 players make the cut with Thursday's release of the 3 finalists at each position. You got Travis d'Arnaud, Max Fried, Matt Olson, and Dansby Swanson. But no Michael Harris II. Grant, surprised, stunned. I don't know that those words really seem to suffice.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. You can certainly throw that one into the mix. I don't know. As you look at this, I know awards, there's a criteria, and there's subjective analysis that everybody has, and everyone has the eye test, I guess, to fall back on. But I don't know how Michael Harris didn't pass a lot of those tests in order to get himself on the list. And I'm not saying that he's the winner in center field walking away. I'm just telling you he's one of the 3 best center fielders in the National League. For me, I watched him play every day. I know some of these other guys had terrific seasons analytically, and of course, you see the highlights and everything else, but it was very surprising to see Michael Harris get 0 consideration as far as finalist is concerned for the National League Gold Glove in center field.
Yeah, the Padres' Trent Grisham, the Nationals' Victor Robles, and the Diamondbacks' Alek Thomas are the finalists in center field. Grisham was great. His 17 outs above average led the majors to the position, but Harris had a higher defensive WAR, equal defensive runs saved, a higher UZR, and he played 120 fewer innings than Grisham did. Harris beat Thomas in every advanced metric, and the only place Robles got him was in outs above average. I'm not saying that Harris should be the winner either, but his not being a finalist just feels absurd.
Yeah, it's just kind of baffling. And I don't know that we really even need to spend that much time in the year 2022 getting upset about the Rawlings Gold Glove, which, I still think is a very cool award. And I'm sure if I'm a player, and it goes back to the old thing that Scott Hall used to say about title belts. I don't have to have one, but if you're handing one out, I'll take one. But I feel like Michael Harris earned one. So it goes beyond that for me. And it earned the consideration. And he's going to continue to do that. Let's be honest here. This is not a travesty that this kid's not going to get another opportunity to go out there and do the things that he does and get consideration for a Rawlings Gold Glove. But to bring the whole point on home, at least for me, it's just surprising. And this is not at the expense of any of the other guys who all had very good seasons in center field. Trent Grisham had a great season in center field. I just looked at all those metrics, and again, having seen him play just about every single day, it was just surprising to me. And about the only place I looked across the stat line and thought, I thought there'd be more of those, was outfield assists. But I think that once Michael Harris threw out a runner at home plate flat-footed from the left center field gap, folks might have taken notice of that and just stopped running on him. So it's just one of those things that we'll never really, I'm sure, find out the exact reasons why, and somebody else will get the Rawlings Gold Glove. And hey, those 3 finalists, good for them. It's deserving. And, one of them's going to have to clear off a spot on his trophy case for it. I'm just surprised that Michael Harris's name was not in more of a consideration for this and on that finalist list.
So for those players that did make the cut, let's forecast who's winning at each spot. Let's start off with pitcher. This is Max Fried's 3rd straight year as a finalist. Of course, he's won the last 2. He's joined by the Dodgers' Tyler Anderson and the Brewers' Corbin Burns. Those players are 1, 2, and 3 in defensive runs saved. Anderson's 1st, Burns 2nd, Fried 3rd. But Fried had the most pickoffs in this group, had the fewest errors and the highest fielding percentage. Reputation also seems to matter when it comes to first base. You got Zach Greinke, who had his long run in the NL. Of course, Greg Maddux had his. I think Fried wins again. What about you?
Yeah, I think Fried's going to win again. And it's not to knock any of the other guys. Again, it's not about trying to disqualify all of the finalists in these awards. But I do think that Fried, based on the fact that he has won a couple of these things now and put up another exemplary season defensively, is the guy that's going to walk away with this one as well.
At catcher, Travis d'Arnaud is a finalist for the first time in his career. He's joined by the Mets' Tomas Nido and the Phillies' JT Realmuto. d'Arnaud has long been known for working well with a pitching staff, but he hasn't always had the reputation as a great defensive catcher. In 7 of his 10 seasons, he's had a negative defensive WAR. This year was different, though. He had a career high there, was 3rd in catcher framing runs, and threw out runners at a clip higher than league average for the 2nd time in 7 years. Realmuto, though, the only catcher with a D-WAR higher than 2.0. I mean, no offense to d'Arnaud, but I think Realmuto is the real clear pick here.
Yeah, no offense to d'Arnaud, no offense to Tomas Nido, and JT Realmuto has been, I think, the class behind the plate for a couple of years now. It just continues to do his thing. So I think he's going to win that award pretty much handily if the voting were to be public, I would imagine.
First base is one of the more compelling of any position. You've got Matt Olson, the winner of 2 AL Gold Gloves of the position. You got the Cardinals' Paul Goldschmidt, who's going for his 5th. And the Diamondbacks' Christian Walker, who quietly had a ridiculous season with the glove. Olson and Goldschmidt have history, but they both had negative defensive wars. Meanwhile, Walker led the position in outs above average across the majors. Defensive runs saved. He had 12 more than anyone. I'm surprised to say this, but I think it feels pretty obvious, and it's not in Olson's favor.
No, I don't think Matt Olson's going to win this award, but I don't necessarily know that even despite some what I would call a breakout season defensively for Christian Walker, that he might be able to overtake the 5-time Gold Glove winner in Goldschmidt. I think a lot of history does play into this award. It has always been a thing, and I know they've tried to make different, find different criteria, make different adjustments to how exactly this voting is done, but I don't know. I still feel like Goldschmidt's going to win that award. But if Walker does win it, good for him, because he certainly put in the numbers and the work to make himself an excellent defensive first baseman. And that's kind of what this award's all about.
Yeah, if the numbers matter and we're putting so much emphasis on them, I'm going with Walker in this spot. Finally, Dansby Swanson has been building towards this. A finalist in 2020, he didn't win. But across every position, only the Tigers' Jonathan Scope has more outs above average. Swanson led all shortstop and defensive runs above average, and he had that flair for their dramatic. But is that enough to beat out the Padres' Ha-Seong Kim and the Marlins' Miguel Rojas?
I think that it is. I think that Swanson, like you said, has started to build towards this and built momentum towards it. And I know that this is, if you look at all of his defensive seasons, he's always been very good. But this year, he was great in a number of different metrics. And I think that he's got enough that kind of pops when you look at his line that should give him the edge in this category. And again, I think it's well earned. And I think that, not that you can have a clutch gene necessarily for making defensive plays, but maybe you can. It always seems like Dansby has a flair for those. But a couple of other good finalists in this mix, but I just feel like Dansby Swanson has an edge, and I think that it's going to bear out this time, and he's finally going to grab that Gold Glove award.
Sabres defensive index is part of the equation here in deciding who wins. In 5 of the last 7 years, the finalist who led in that metric has won the Gold Glove. The latest update, which has not been since late August, has Kim ahead of Swanson. But those outs above average, they were nearly double any other NL finalist. I think those speak volumes, and I think Swanson is going to end up getting his first Gold Glove. This figures to be just the beginning of the Braves Award Tour, and we will have you covered here on BPTV. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell a friend. And don't forget, you can find us on From the Diamond on 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, also available wherever you find your podcasts. Until next time, I'm Cory McCartney. He's Grant McAuley, and we'll see you soon, Braves Country.